The types of crops that farmers want to grow is changing because of various factors. We know the climate is changing. Some parts of the world are getting hotter, some are getting drier. Some places there's more rainfall and there's more flooding. We also know consumer preferences are changing. Consumers in urban areas want food that cooks faster. They want food that's better for them, that's more nutrient dense, for instance. We know with the changes in climate, along with that come changes in the prevalence of pests and diseases. So the type of crops that farmers need to grow to address all these challenges is constantly evolving. So they need a new suite of crop varieties to address these challenges and meet these needs. Plant breeders develop the new suite of varieties that farmers will grow. It's a long process. It can take more than 10 years for scientists to develop a new crop variety. It's also a relatively expensive process. So each year, plant breeders are testing thousands of varieties, of which maybe 2 or 3 might be officially released. And of the many releases that have been done, maybe only a handful will eventually be commercialized and adopted at scale by farmers. It's really critical that breeders start off knowing exactly what is required at the moment and what is required in the future, because the breeding projects they're initiating now will conclude in 5 to 10 years' time. Firstly, it's expensive, so you need to dedicate a certain amount of funding to develop new crop varieties. Breeders typically make dozens, if not more, new crosses each year, so they're crossing new parents to develop varieties with a new package of traits that address new requirements that the farmers are telling them about. After making the crossing, you extract varieties out of that, and that takes quite a long time to get through the breeding pipeline. You have to test your varieties widely, on station, on farm. All of these things are expensive. In many of the countries of the global south, the budget for research and development that is allocated by governments is fairly limited. Secondly, the capacity. So as we modernize various sciences, including the science of plant breeding, the technologies and techniques are changing, and we don't always have access to the latest technologies or the capacity to use them in the global south, which makes our breeding programs a little bit slower than what we might see in the more developed economies. And thirdly, we have a challenge of a formal seed system in a lot of the countries in the global south. So having a formal system to get outputs coming out of research to either be commercialized or distributed by government agencies to the farmers to adopt. So those seed systems are still under development, and that's another major challenge that we are facing. So the CGIAR doesn't work in isolation. It works through partners. And we work as plant breeding networks, and the CG and its partners have comparative advantages along different areas of the breeding process. The CGIAR generally is stronger and has a very strong comparative advantage upstream, whereas partners such as the national systems, seed companies, NGOs, universities have a much stronger comparative advantage downstream towards the delivery. So we need to work together and figure out how best we can align our work and our priorities so that the good research that is done upstream has a channel and a pathway to reach the farmers. And that's why partnerships are so important. So what plant breeders do is they try and understand what changes are happening environmentally in terms of consumer preference, and they try to design varieties, new plant varieties that address those concerns. They're feeding the world, so to speak, through the development of these new varieties that are appropriate for the changing climatic situations and the changing consumer preferences.